Today I'm going to be making these butter tart squares. I got this recipe from the joyofbaking.com website. What we need, there's two parts. It's basically a shortbread base and the filling. So the shortbread base, we need 1 cup of flour. We need 1/4 of a cup of granulated white sugar, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and then 1/2 a cup of cold butter, and you want it just cut into chunks. And then you need to preheat your oven to 350, and you need an 8-inch baking pan. You can either spray it with cooking spray, or we used to always use parchment paper. It's so much easier. Then for the filling, we need 1/4 a cup of butter. Sorry, pointing you in the wrong place.
Butter.
1/4 of a cup of butter, room temperature, so this is going to be softened. 1 cup of brown sugar, 2 large eggs, 1/4 of a cup of either light corn syrup, or you can use this golden syrup. We like the Lyle's, so it's really nice, Lyle's golden syrup. So 1/4 of a cup there. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a tablespoon of flour, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and you need 1/2 cup of chopped walnuts. And they said you could also do 1/2 cup of raisins if you we'd rather have the walnuts than the raisins. So what you want to do for the crust, we're literally just going to combine these 4 things together. They say to use a food processor. I never use a food processor for shortbread crust. I just always use my hands. So I'm going to dump my salt and sugar in here, and I'm going to kind of mix this together a little bit with my fingers just to kind of get it going. Make sure there's nothing clumps of anything, and then I'm going to dump my butter in there. And you're going to work it to where it's kind of grainy, like it almost looks like sand. And it does take a little while to do it. So I usually just coat them a little bit with the flour, and then the method I use is I squish the butter with the flour, and it will stick to your fingers a little bit right at first. You'll see the butter will kind of stick, but the more you work it, the more the flour and the butter kind of work together, and it won't stick as bad. So yeah, just do this until it gets crumbly. So this is a little more clumpy than some shortbreads I've made. This has got a lot more butter in it and less of the flour and stuff. So I just wanted to show you it's really big clumps and there's lots of butter in there. So it'll be a very buttery shortbread. So now what you want to do is take this and press into the bottom of your pan, and just goes in the bottom. And if you want to, if you've used a food processor, you probably, I don't know, your fingers are all clean. My hands are already dirty, so why not just use your hands, right? But it was saying you could use a spoon to kind of press it in the bottom. You know, you got these 2 wonderful instruments on your end of your arms. Why not just use them? And you get it as even as you can. So what this is going to do, once we get it pressed in the pan, we're going to bake for about 20 minutes or until it's just starting to turn golden in color. And just take a fork and just poke holes in it. You want just some holes in there to where it doesn't get air bubbles trapped inside of it. Okay, so I'm going to stick this in the oven for 20 minutes. I'll be back. Okay, so here it is out of the oven. You can see it's just getting a little color, a little brown around the edges, but it's got a nice golden color kind of on top. So now we want to work on our filling. So while that's cooling, we can start on our filling. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do our brown sugar and our butter. And you can use your food processor if you want to, or you can use a mixer. I'm just going to use this mixer. Butter and the sugar are all really well mixed, so now you're just going to add your eggs, and we're going to mix this until they're really well incorporated. eggs are really well mixed in, so now I'm going to add my vanilla. Pour it right in, and my golden syrup or corn syrup, depending on which one you used. And it's really thick, so you'll want to get a some kind of spatula to knock it out of there. Okay, so now I'm going to mix in my flour. It's not a lot. I guess it's just enough to thicken it up a bit. My salt and my baking powder. Okay, all I've done is clean my beater off and just taken it off the stand. So now what you want to do is take your walnuts and really just like spread them out over top of your shortbread. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just don't want them clumped up. And then we're going to take this mixture and we're going to pour it over top. I'm going to kind of try to even it out a bit. But we're going to stick this in the same 350-degree oven, and we're going to let it bake for 20 to 25 minutes or until the filling's set, and then remove it from the oven, and then we're going to place it to cool. And it's supposed to be go to room temperature, or you can chill it as well. So what do you think? 20 to 25?
I would do 22. That's
22, and we'll see how it is. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so this is it out of the oven after 28 minutes because it was really liquidy right at 22 and at 25. It's still a little jiggly, so we're gonna let it sit and cool. Hopefully it'll set up more, but we were afraid to leave it any longer because it's getting really dark on the top and we didn't want it to burn. So we pulled it out at 28 minutes. We'll see what happens.
Kevin wants me to cut these, so the pan is greasy.
Yeah. I wonder if that's water more than anything.
No, I bet you it's butter. Because I can smell
It had a lot of butter.
the butter and sugar. It smells incredible. Okay, you're supposed to get 16 pieces.
And it did set, by the way, for the most part, it seems like.
It, right there going into it, it feels like an ooey gooey cake. Is that what it's supposed to be like, an ooey gooey cake?
Your guess as good as mine. It said it had a caramely like topping.
Okay.
It looks like a pecan pie almost. That goo you get.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of.
Trying to make sure I go through all the way. Okay. So that is how it looks.
Yeah, that looks just like a pecan pie.
Yeah, it looks really nice. So it says, butter tart squares, simply irresistible with their buttery shortbread crust that is topped with a rich and gooey caramel-like filling. It does not give the calories or anything like that. That's probably a good thing.
I don't think they did at all.
But this is from joyofbaking.com, and we will link below in the description in case you want to go there and make these yourself. How did you ever even find this recipe?
I was searching for fall recipes.
Oh,
this was
okay.
one.
And this is a fall recipe.
Yeah, it was one of the recipes that popped up.
Well, it smells incredible. It has smelled very sweet and buttery, very like when he first took that shortbread out of the oven, it smelled very buttery at that point. And then when you bake it with all the sugar on top, it smells like butter and sugar.
Now we've got all edge pieces. The center pieces are a little more runny in the centers. I don't know if we let them sit even longer or if we chilled them, they would firm up maybe.
You could eat it with a fork.
Yeah, you could eat it with a fork too though. I mean, I would never eat a pecan pie with my fingers. The butter is unreal.
You know what makes it special too is the walnuts.
They're all flavor.
You really get the texture because without those nuts, it's going to be, I think, the same. Well, it's going to be the goo in the center of a pecan pie without any pecan. So like when you get to that center part of the pie, there are no pecans in the center part. They're only on the top layer. So without those walnuts, it's just going to be the goo. So if you want to give it a little bit of a crunch, you want to add a nut of some kind.
Yeah, you could use pecans in this just as easily. Walnuts, pecans, either one. And you actually could have probably added more walnuts if you wanted to, because it's good the way it is. But I only used a cup. You could have, I mean, a half cup. You could have put a whole cup in there if you really wanted to.
I think that is absolutely incredible. Incredible.
Did you get the edge where it's kind of chewy?
I haven't yet.
The edge has kind of got a chewy texture. Where it's thickened up. It's even got a grittier, kind of the shortbread has a little bit of a grit to it.
Honestly,
Okay.
normally I'm an edge piece, and I do like the edge, but I think that I like the middle even more.
Oh, too.
Of this specifically.
Yeah, because you didn't push the shortbread up on the edges. So the edges are just more cooked, sugary, caramely part. So it's a little chewy and sticky. I mean, it's all kind of sticky, but yeah.
Yeah. Whereas that is just soft.
Those are good. I think if you like a pecan pie, you'll like this. The crust is really nice. Though. I like the crust. It's very soft. It's not like a hard, crispy shortbread. It's a very soft shortbread.
And what surprised me, you said you could use
raisins
or walnuts.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could do that, or you could use a combination of the two.
Yeah, you could do both if you wanted to.
You could do both if you wanted.
Yeah.
I personally would not want raisins.
I wouldn't either because it's
like
going to add a chewy texture to it that I wouldn't like as much.
I like the nuts, but I think...
But I can imagine mixing both. Having both in there.
Yeah,
although I still think I'd rather just have the nuts.
I'd rather just have the nuts, and I love the walnuts. But if you have somebody like our son who can't have walnuts, then you could do pecans if they're coming over and gonna enjoy them too.
It wouldn't go good with like peanuts or anything. But,
no,
but a walnut or pecan, I think it
yes, are perfect. But I would totally get him to make this again.
It's really easy. I mean, there was nothing to it.
And you never got the food processor out. The only thing you got out was the mixer. And if you have a hand mixer, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I definitely could have done that second part, the filling part, with a hand mixer if you didn't have a stand mixer. And the front, anytime I make shortbread crust, I always do it with my hands. I think I've used a food processor once.
He likes to use his hands.
Well, you get the food processor out and you got to clean it all that stuff. I'd just rather do it with my hands.
Right, yeah. Unless we're doing a lot of jobs with the food processor, usually we do use, let him use his hands. But I think this is a 5 out of 5 recipe.
It's very, very good. Very sweet.
Love it, yes.
Very buttery.
So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.